Good evening, witches. So I am Reuben Lyran Healer, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. So in this video I'm going to be talking about the mystical, magical and perfect world of the Book of Shadows in Grimoires. So basically I'm going to be giving you a tour of my Book of Shadows, and I'm going to be giving you lots and lots of ideas on how you can start your own or improve your own. So that is what this video is for. So stick around if you would like to hear about that. I use a list so I'm concise and I stick to the point, really, and the topic and theme that we're supposed to be on. Hence also why I'm wearing my turquoise necklace, because turquoise taps into your throat chakra. See, I'm going off topic already. So here I have with me some of my books of shadows. So I will start to give you a tour of those in a moment. There are various forms of Book of Shadows. So basically, however many traditions or types of witches that are out there, there is probably triple the amount of versions of Book of Shadows. So basically, Book of Shadows can be very unique to each specific witch. Although, with that in mind, the important thing to remember, there is no right or wrong when it comes to Book of Shadows or grimoires, which I will get into. There's no right or wrong. Basically, just do what feels right with you. So if you want to have a Book of Shadows, which is like a scrapbook of information and pictures and images and fabrics, stuff which inspire you, then go ahead and do that. It's personal to you, so it's your Book of Shadows, so let it contain what you want it to contain. Bearing that in mind, I will continue. There are a couple of forms of Book of Shadows. So some people take a Book of Shadows to mean that you just write everything and anything in there. Anything that you want that's to do with your spiritual craft, your witchcraft, so witchcraft spells, feelings, thoughts, emotions. So you just write all of that down in the Book of Shadows. So that's one form of a Book of Shadows. And then there is grimoire, so there's people like me who are more selective to what you put in your Book of Shadows. So there'll be people who just only write their own spells in the Book of Shadows, maybe. Or there's people who will only write spells in the Book of Shadows from their own coven, etc. Or you may have two Book of Shadows. You may have a Book of Shadows which is personal to you, and you'll have a Book of Shadows that's personal to your coven as well. Some traditions, such as Gardnerian Wiccans, once you're initiated into that coven, you then write out fully the Gardnerian Book of Shadows. So there is that one template of the Book of Shadows, and then you write it out in entirety, because then that becomes your Book of Shadows. I can't attest to if they then add their own stuff into it, because I turned down my initiation to the Gardnerian Wiccan Coven because I wanted to follow my own spiritual path, because I'd been practicing as a witch for a long time already anyway, but I just thought, oh, Gardnerian Wiccans, let's see what this is all about. So yeah, a lot of the stuff I knew, but it was interesting to learn other stuff which I didn't know, and it was interesting to learn stuff in different ways and to learn a different viewpoint, because I had came into that as an eclectic witch, so someone who just takes whatever they like from any other tradition and utilizes it for their own craft. I was that sort of witch, and I still am, but I was training to be a Gardnerian Wiccan. So it's interesting when you look from that instance and then looking at people who practice in one certain way, so that when it comes to Gardnerian Wiccans, like Gerald Gardner, the founder of the Gardnerian Wicca, and the guy who's probably made it the most popular, him and Aleister Crowley, they're two of the big names who really brought witchcraft out into the public eye and made people start talking about it. Gerald Gardner was a stickler for rules. So basically, for those of you who already know about Wicca a little bit, Wiccans follow the Wiccan Rede, and the Wiccan Rede is, and it harm none, so must it be. So that is their top rule. So I'm going to be a bit naughty now, and I'm going to read you a couple of the Gardnerian rules, which are likely written in the Gardnerian Book of Shadows. So, when it comes to witchcraft and Wicca, it has always been secretive. It was secretive back then, since the Burning Times, when they had to be secretive, and it's still quite secretive now, and it's for various reasons. All was made and ordained of old is the first rule. Alright, so I'm just going to read a couple at random. Splitting the coven oft means strife, so for this reason these laws were made of old, and may the curse of the goddess be on any who disregard them, so be it ordained. Okay. If your book be found on you, 'tis clear proof against you alone, you may be arraigned. If you are condemned, fear not. Have no sword unless your rank allows it. Okay. Ever remember ye are the children of the goddess, so never do anything to disgrace them or her. Yes, I like that one. So the list goes on and on and on. There's like 136 rules here that the Gardnerians are meant to abide by. Never bargain or cheapen anything whilst you buy by the art, so be it ordained. So you hear that, witches, get spending. And whilst you're spending, come and spend it at the Black Cat Treasury, our shop. We have lots of witchy stuff there. This is Tallulah. This is the witch's familiar. She's the one who the shop's named after. This is the true owner of the Black Cat Treasury. No. You saying hi? This first book is my first Book of Shadows. So basically, I just got a book like this. So it was a plain book, a cool plain book, and then I took the time to sew this black cloth over the covers, and then I got this. So this is my Book of Shadows. It's looking a bit grubby now because, as I said, I made this 16 years ago. So this is quite an old book, by today's standards anyway. So yeah, I also made this glittery pentagram. Yeah, and as you can see here, I wrote in the beginning of the book, may the love of the goddess and the god be with me forever, so must it be. So that is a thing which witches say a lot. And then we have the pentagram twice. So I'll just have a quick flick through the Book of Shadows for you, so you can get to see what kind of stuff I get up to. I hope it doesn't give too much away, because I do some quite varied witchy things. As you can see, I've written it all out by hand. book blessing spell. So yeah, that was one of... So when I first started out, I didn't really know how to create a good spell myself. So I learned by just searching the internet for various spells. And this is one of the ones that I found. Elements watch and guard this book from wandering eyes and prying luck. In this right and ready hour, fill it with thine ancient power. So yeah, that is the book blessing spell, one of them. And then we go on to the charge of the goddess. So the charge of the goddess starts with, listen to the words of the great mother, she who of old was called among men, Artemis, Astarte, Athena, Dione, Melusine, Aphrodite, Ceridwen, Dana, Arianrod, Isis, Breed, and by many other names. So that's charge of the goddess, invocation of the goddess, charge of the dark goddess, descent of the goddess, and then there's some more information, some information which is just about the moon, then some information on this side which is about the goddess. So as you can see, as I told you, some of the writing is very small. So I'm going to keep some form of privacy in the Book of Shadows because not many people are going to be able to read it anyway. So drawing down the moon ritual. Then we have the drawing down of the dark moon. So that's to do with my patron goddess Hecate. Then there is the Wiccan read over here. So even though I don't identify as a Wiccan, Wicca is a good place to start for anyone who's interested because it helps to lay down the foundations. The four powers of Magus. The four powers of Magus are the personal attributes traditionally necessary and required for the successful use and practice of magic. So these are to know, to dare, to will, to be silent. Without these four attributes combined, the individual will never be successful in magic. And over here we have the Witch's Creed. There she is youthful or old as she pleases. She sails upon clouds in her bark. The Silver Lady of Midnight, the crone who weaves her spells in the dark. Yeah, I always love that part. So again, that is the Witch's Pyramid that I was just reading, to know, to keep silent, to will, to dare, and all of that. So we also have the Celtic tree calendar here. December, January, February, and on. I am Holly, I believe. July the 8th to August the 4th. So I'm just on the cusp of the holly. So my wand is created from holly, because to do with the Celtic tree calendar. So there's the Gaia's charge down here. There's the charge of the moon goddess. I like to put dried flowers in here as well. I think they're so cool. So this is the charge of the moon goddess. Behold, I am she who shines above, Selene, lunar moon. So yeah, that is another cool one. The charge of the autumn goddess. There's lots of these, and I love them all. So there's the armour of the witches, there's the witch's prayer. So these are all what I consider as sacred texts. So I'll be adding these into my grimoire. A witch's prayer. The pagan creed. For witches this be law. So these are all just cool stuff to learn about and to read when you're first starting out. I am a pagan and I dedicate myself to channeling the spiritual energy of my inner self to help and heal myself and others. Wow. That is so cool, because that is exactly what I do now. I know that I am part of the whole of nature. May I grow in understanding of the unity of all nature. May I always walk in balance. May I always be mindful of diversity of nature as well as its unity, and may I always be tolerant of those whose races, appearance, sex, sexual preference, culture, and other ways differ from my own. So here we have the Norse Reed of Honour. So that's a bit like the Witch's Reed, but a Satiru. So that is like Viking faith or Viking sect of witchcraft and paganism. In all that you do, consider its benefit or harm upon yourself, your children, and your people. In all that which you do will return to you, sooner or later, for good or for ill. This above all to thine own self be true. Humankind, and especially your own family and folk, have the spark of divinity within it. Protect and nurture that spark, give your word sparingly, and adhere to it like iron. So yeah, that is definitely a Satiru or Norse way. So the Witch's Code of Honour is in here as well. The Law of Power. Power shall not be used to bring harm, to injure, or to control others, but if the need arises, the power shall be used to protect your life or the lives of others. The power is used only as the need dictates. The power can be used for your own gain, as long as by doing so you harm none. So, very Wiccan. So then I have the Blessing of the Light on this page. May the blessing of the light be upon you, light without and light within. May the blessed sunlight shine upon you and warm your heart till it glows. So yeah, this is like an old Irish or Celtic prayer. So there's a Song of the Goddess here. The names of the goddess, so that goes through lots of the goddess. So I'll read a bit of that. The goddess is one and multiform. The goddess has 9 billion names and more. Blessed be the goddess of chaos, Eris, incoherent. First of all, to emerge in the undifferentiated planum. So yeah, then it goes on to, blessed be the broad-breasted earth, Gaia, the ever-bountiful planet of our birth. Blessed be Maria, the goddess of the ocean. Blessed be Aphrodite, goddess of love. Blessed be Athena, goddess of wisdom. Blessed be Demeter. Blessed be Kali, goddess of the underworld, skull-wreathed terrible goddess. So yeah, so there's a lot of goddesses there. The Witch's Ballad, I believe, yeah, that one is Doreen Valiente again. So a lot of these ones were written by Doreen Valiente. I'm sure she's the one who does the Charge of the Goddess too. The rhyming Charge of the Goddess, rather. So that was near to the beginning. So all of these, if you type these into Google, they'll pop up the Witch's Ballad, especially. Witch's Ballad and The Witch Alone. I'm not sure about the names of the goddess. Some of these might be quite... But, yeah. So there's the inscription of the Emerald Tablet here. So that's as above, so below comes from that. So it's in Latin and it's in English, the translation. So I'm not going to read that because I feel like I'm going to be doing another video about the Emerald Tablet and the Emerald Order. So I won't read that one. 13 Principles of Wiccan Belief. So if they can strip it down to 13, then that's good. Because as we saw earlier, Gerald Gardner penned down 136 Wiccan rules. Or rather, it wasn't just Gerald Gardner, the High Priestess as well. she added some of her own rules, and it was kind of backwards and forwards with each other, because once Gerald wrote a rule that pissed off the High Priestess, excuse my French, then she came up with a rule as well. So yeah. But I think it was kind of a bit like when you're acting. In acting, once you introduce something, you have to go along with it, but there's nothing from there's nothing stopping you from creating something else that then the other person will have to go along with. So it's kind of that sort of mentality. So I have the story of Cabal and Cabal in the epilogue. So there's like the 9-knot charm here. So by knot of 1 the spell's begun, or the power's begun, I've wrote. By knot of 2 it shall come true. Or here I've wrote by knot of 2 the power's renewed. So there's lots of versions of this spell. By knot of 3 the power's in me. By knot of 4 the power is more. By knot of 5 the power's alive. So yeah, just type in 9-knot charm in Google. I'm sure you'll be able to find that. There's lots of different versions, like I said. Alright. So let's speed up a bit. So Before Time Was by Scott Cunningham. So that's like the pagans' version of creation. So we have like Genesis in the Bible. So like Scott Cunningham came up with his take on the creation story, and it's quite beautiful. So look that up, Before Time Was. Or actually, I'll see if I can pop a link to it in the description. I should be able to do that if I remember. So yeah, there's some stuff about the stars here. So there's like Sirius, Agol, Vega, Antares, Capella. So yeah, there's some Latin charms. So then I've wrote some stuff about witches' familiars here. So that's them 2 pages here. I've wrote a bit about demons. I even found a correspondence where it gave a demon for each month. So I penciled in Hecate because there was an unknown demon in... So basically they hadn't listed a demon in November. So as Hecate was one of the many pagan deities who was demonized, I thought it was fitting to put her in there because she does have a Luciferian, or rather a dark and demonic aspect to herself. She has many aspects, although that is one of them. So there's the calling of the watchtowers here, about casting the circle, an open letter from a witch, so that's an interesting one. So if you type that into Google, hopefully you should be able to find that. And then there's just some elemental calling chants here. So, behold, I am fire, I am light, I am life. I am the spark that ignites the flame which continues to burn. I am the golden one, destroyer of darkness. I bring warmth and hope, the glow of the hearth and home. Mine the sweet ease of summer's heat. Mine the inferno, raising all before it. My touch may brand or heal. My touch may brand or heal. The heat of my breath emboldens. The sound of my voice enlivens. The brightness of my flame illuminates. I am fire. So yeah, just some more random spells. So there's the initiation ceremony here. So this is what I used to self-initiate myself 16 years ago. So basically, I was calling upon the dark goddesses because they're usually the ones who are more associated with witchcraft and initiation. One of the spells that I use here, so Hecate, Seridwin, Dark Mother, take us in. Hecate, Seridwin, let us be reborn, is the initiation ritual which I managed to put together. I got some inspiration from other places, such as that. I didn't write that. It says here by DJ Conway, so I think that chant, Hecate, Seridwin, Dark Mother, take him in. Hecate, Seridwin, let him be reborn. That comes from DJ Conway, that part of it. So then in my Book of Shadows, I started writing stuff about the different tools of the witch. So there's a wand consecration ritual there, affirmate consecration. So basically, is in witchcraft we use a tool for each of the elements. So there's the wand, the affirmate. So the wand is for either, sometimes the wand and the affirmate are interchangeable. So sometimes the wand can represent fire, sometimes it represents air, sometimes the affirmate is the same. You can basically choose, although the way I had it described to me by the Wiccan High Priestess is that the logic that the Gardnerians use for choosing whether the wand is for represents the element of earth, represents the element of fire or air, basically is you set wood on fire to make light, so that makes that represent the element of fire, because you burn wood, don't you, for light and set it on fire, so that's why it represents fire. And the affirmate, it cuts through the air, so yeah, that is why the affirmate is for the element of air. Then there's a pentacle blessing ritual there. There's a cauldron consecrating ritual as well. So then I started writing some bits about the witches' sabbats here. So basically, I looked up information on each of the sabbats. So I'm going to skip through saying that. So the bit about the witches' sabbats there. More about the sabbats. So there's 8 witches' sabbats, so I go through them all there. Some protection spells here. And chant. So colour empowering amulet ritual. So that was a specific ritual for tapping into different energies, specifically energies of the colours. And then there's the Celtic energies empowerment ritual at the bottom here. That was an interesting one. So basically, it gives you a deity for each of the 3 main realms or worlds or dimensions. So you have Manon, which represents Manon MacLear, so he's like the god of the sea or the ocean, so he's representing the ocean. You have Danu for the earth, and then you have Baal for the underworld. So basically, through this ritual, you then tap into the energy of each of those places. So it's a pretty cool ritual. I should do that one again soon. Not done it in quite a while, because as I said, I started writing this book 16 years ago. So some of these spells I've not done for quite some time. Spellbinding spell. Alright, so yeah, that's a good one. So basically this spellbinding spell, it's just a little spell. So basically if you're casting a spell, whether it's, say if you're casting a spell for good weather. So hear my words, hear the rhyme. I bind this spell through space and time. I bind this spell with all my power. At this time, this ritual hour. By the powers of 3 times 3, the spell is bound, so let it be. Or there's another one that I like. By the pentacle I wear, earth, water, fire and air, ruled by spirit is all should be as I speak, so must it be. So that the basis of that spell is if you're always wearing a pentacle, then you can tap into the energy of the pentacle to seal your spell. So yeah, there's more random spells here. So to rid the home of evil or malicious entities, anti-nightmare charms, to mend quarrels, inspiration spell, to bring new life to a plant, spell to go unseen. So yeah, that was a fun spell that I used to like to practice a lot. Basically like an invisibility spell. I got quite good at doing that, but I've not practiced that in quite some time. So basically, the invisibility spell, it's practically just casting a glamour on yourself. It just makes you blend in so that you go unnoticed. So I wouldn't say you're literally invisible, but you kind of just go unnoticed rather instead. Alright, a spell to have someone see their errors. So there's a spell there to break a curse. To find a solution to a problem. Healing spell. Mother Goddess, I invoke thee, heal all who seek it, make us well and make us fit. Bathe us in thy healing light, give us courage, lend us might. Here on this ritual night, here under the healing sun and moon, send us healing swift and soon. So, a cat and a dog blessing. So, to bless your familiars. So, there's also some information here, so, like, on the hours of the day. So, basically, if you just be mindful of what time of the day, what time is it that you're wanting to perform magic, then sometimes are better than others for certain things, which days of the week it is. So Monday's ruled by the moon, so it's associated with divination and divine feminine, etc. Whereas Sunday is associated with the divine masculine. So it's good for growth and healing as well, Sundays. So yeah, there's a bit about colours over here. So colour healing colour is very big in witchcraft, especially crystals as well. That ties in with colour magic as well, because depending on the colour of the crystal depends on what metaphysical properties it's going to have for you. So information about gathering fresh herbs, information about thought forms and spirits. So some weatherworking spells. Spell to end rain. Remove obstacles. To honour and petition a storm. Good weather spell. Oh, bookmarks fell. That rhymes. So dandelion charm. More weatherworking spells. So there's a bit about herbs here, and then right next to it I've got a bit about voodoo. So yeah, how eclectic do you get? So Scott Cunningham's What Can Kill Can Cure. More in the garden grows than the witch knows. Sell your coat and buy Bethany. So yeah, if you type in, if you have a look for Scott Cunningham and type up herbal folklore, then that should come up rather. So on the other side I've got a bit about the voodoo lower, as voodoo does interest me because it goes back to the other side of my family, because part of my family comes from Ireland and the other half comes from Jamaica. So what essentially the Jamaicans, they all came from Africa at one point. So hence why I'm interested in African or African American spirituality as well. So yeah, there's a bit about ritual tools again. So there's a bell blessing spell here. And then there's a bit about the bolin. So that's again, it's another witch's tool. So the bolin is what you use to cut herbs with. So basically, if you're collecting herbs, you'd use a bolin and not an athame, because an athame shouldn't be used to cut things. It's mainly just for cutting through the air and directing energy, basically. So this was one of my favourite bits that I got to write about. I wrote here about energy vortexes. So as you can see, the writing is really small. So it was some of my finest work. Because can you believe that? That power spots and vortexes in the writing is tiny as hell. So yeah, I'll see if I can read a little bit about it. I'll read a little. Ancient people knew that wherever the Earth's energy gathered into a vortex or a nexus, it was a sacred place. These strongly charged areas of the globe have also been the places where people have chosen to build churches and cemeteries. So, yeah, it's quite a well-known fact that the churches were built upon pagan sacred grounds, or if not pagan, then Native American grounds as well. So we have some protection spells here. Protection spells. Evil Eye protection spell. Witch's Jar of Magical Protection. We have a little bookmark here. Our Lady of Grace, pray for us. Eclectic all the way. So a rune spell to deflect negative energy. Ward evil, finding spell. That's a good one that I like. To rid yourself of ill luck. So your powers that banish make ill luck vanish. Your house is clean when mine is mired. Work ye unto my desire. Ill luck forthwith from my home and into thine. From hall of bone to path of stone. Get thee hence from my home. So yeah, that you can tell that's one of my favourite spells. So yeah, there's just a few more random spells. Another cool spell that I like is the birthday spell. So whenever it's my birthday, I like to do the birthday spell. So basically, it's just to help bring more good luck and good fortune and blessings throughout the year for you. So it's a cool one. Revealing spell to protection spell for someone else to uncover an enemy. New moon spell to find new friends. Lammas ritual. Mabon ritual. So moonstone love spell. Love poppets. So yeah, there really is bits of everything in here. So even Astarte summoning, who is sometimes equated with Astarte. A spell to still a storm, to solve legal matters, to forgive someone. So you really can have spells for everything. So a chant for justice. May nemesis stalk those who dare slander me and cause me care. All that they attempt to cause me pain rebound on them and be in vain. Let the hurt they cause to me and mine be bound round them like ivy's vine. And when they lay them down to sleep, may nightmares stalk and waking weep, until the day their conscience bids they tell the truth for all to hear, and they leave my reputation clear. All this I ask in justice's name, and wish on them the very same, as I will so much it be. O chief deity of Caria and Greece, Hecate, daughter of Astaria and Perses, I hearken ye. Queen of witches, queen of night, you who hold dominion over life and death. So we have here like an earth healing spell. Also, there's a star cleansing ritual. Beltane ritual. I should give that a go today. I've not got round to it yet. Mabon ritual. So a bit of information about the witch's ladder. Fertility ritual. A God blessing, healing chant, goddess blessing. So then there's a bit here about the different forms of energy. So they essentially can be split into three. So there's personal energy, there's earth energy, and divine energy. Although that's just putting it basically. There's I've recently through the 16 years I'm coming to realise there's like infinite forms of energies out there. So there's a bit about opening the chakras here, cleaning the chakras, and then there's some recipes here. So there's like a recipe here for 4 thieves vinegar, 100 grass water, Marie Laveau water. So to call your guardian angel, tarot chant. So yeah, there's all sorts. Some more dried flowers in here, some daisies. So calling the angels of the quarters, calling the dragons of the quarters. Out with fire, in with frost charm. So that's a good healing spell. So it especially works well on burn. So hair and hide, flesh and bone, no more pain than any stone. 3 angels came from the east, 1 with fire, 2 with frost. Get out with you fire, come in with you frost. So basically it's good for healing like a burn. House blessing ritual. Charging a room. So a good luck spell. Chant to rid yourself of negative thoughts. A daffodil love spell. So yeah, you've practically seen most of this. Is my first book, so old chant, so that's like a witchy pagan-y chant. Pentacle ritual of invocation, so that's like the Kabbalistic cross. Anubis summoning. To bless, house blessing. Evening prayer, so let's do this one, the evening prayer. My house has 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 holy angels adorn them from rafter to core. Neither criminals nor charmers above nor below, nor those who do evil can enter my home. My house has 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 holy angels adorn them, protected to the core. My house, my home, stands with spirit, encompassed by love, protected from evil and blessed by the dove. My house has 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, surrounded by angels, infused by spirit from present to future. So might it be. So yeah, there's little hex in there as well, just to shake shit up. Earth healing spell. So yeah, I love how eclectic this book is, because there's a hex on one page and then the page next to it is the earth healing spell, and then another earth healing spell. So the healing spells definitely outweigh the hexes and curses, because I don't do them often or lightly. Tarot card blessing. Scrying chant. Roots and branches exercise. So basically it's for grounding or for tapping into cosmic and earth energy at the same time. To bless and protect your land and home. So triple circle casting. A bluebell luck spell. So yeah, just like I said, lots of random stuff in here. So magical barrier spell, righteous sword of fire spell, So the righteous sword of fire, that is wielded usually by Archangel Michael, although there's other deities such as Hecate who may use it as well. Or should I say, may have a claim to the righteous sword of fire as well. So there's a waning moon chant for Hecate. And then there's a poem at the end here. So this wasn't a spell, but I just really liked it. So I'll read, might as well read it. Considering magic, don't think of magic as a conjuring trick or just as fortune tellers reading hands. It is a secret which will sometimes break through ordinary days, and it depends upon right states of mind like good intent. A love that's a wisdom that is not pleased with itself. This sort of magic's meant to cast a brilliance on dark trains of thought and guide you through the mazes of the lost. Lost love, lost people, lost animals. For this, a sure, deep spell of care is cast, which will never lie or play false. It banishes through the troubles of the past, and this is the oldest way of casting spells. So yeah, that is pretty much my first Book of Shadows. So I hope you enjoyed the tour. So I'll give you a quick glance at some of my mirror books. So here, this is my mirror book. So basically, whenever I cast a spell or do anything magical, then I write it down in this magical diary, which is a mirror book. So yeah, there's lots of those. That's the first one. And then this is the more current one. Yeah, this is another mirror book here. So has random stuff all just packed in there. So basically just some ideas for creating thought forms. There's a thingy here about the Native American medicine wheel. So yeah, so this one's kind of like a mirror book and a scrapbook at the same time. There's a bit about crystal arrays there. So I like, if there's a technique I come across, I like to write those down as well, and just ideas. Basically, I had a reading, and then the lady wrote something down for me, so I stuck that in here. And it was to do with a reading that I had a while ago. So yeah, that was the other mirror book, and this is my current mirror book. So basically, this one's been going for the longest time. I wrote in here, I am not what has happened to me, I am what I choose to become. That's by Carl Jung. So yeah, there's just lots of entries in here. Lots and lots and lots. So I'm still writing that one. Here we have, this is my new moon. My new moon journal. For basically, I write in here for manifesting on the new moon. So whatever goals I'd like to achieve, I write them down in here in the new moon journal. So I won't show you in that because that's quite personal. But yeah, it's a good idea to do it. So if you've got a spare book, then just once a month when it's the new moon, just write in there. Or if we have a black moon like this month, then you get to write in it twice. So yeah, that is my new moon journal. So when it comes to Book of Shadows, you can get stuff like this as well. The Book of Dreams and Shadows, A Witch's Tool by Lady Rhea. So basically, it's meant to be like your Book of Shadows, but this isn't what I used it for. Basically, I wrote my Nana's ghost stories in here instead. Bless her. So you can get some stuff like that. So that's... The Book of Dreams and Shadows. Over here we also have my Reiki healing book. So this kind of looks like a cool Book of Shadows, but I actually made it as my Reiki healing book. And here we have, this is essentially my Book of Shadows 2.0 slash, and coming up to the Grimoire, so it's almost the Grimoire, but it's not my Grimoire yet. There's something quite cool in here, so which I'll show you. So there's a tool consecration spell there. There's a preparation chant. So before casting rituals or spells. But the main thing that I wanted to show you in here is this, how I decorated it. This is what I want my grimoire to be like. So basically, I just channeled lots of magical symbols, and then I just wrote it all down in here, and I ended up with this. So, yeah, it's beautiful. So, some of these turned out to be cool light codes. And some of it, I think at the top, that's just my name in Thebane. So Thebane is like the witch's language. There's the Vesica Piscis there. There's like the dragon's eye there. There's the Star of David, or hexagram, I think you call it as well. So I did take some symbols that there already. So there's the Ankh and Triquetra there as well. There's like the Kundalini symbol here. So yeah, I really had fun decorating the front of this. And there's a cool light code down here. I always think that looks really majestic. It really reminds me of like the pyramids, that one. But yeah, so that is a quick tour of my Book of Shadows. So I'm going to end here for part 1, but this is my second Book of Shadows, so I will continue on the second Book of Shadows in the next video. Okay, so thank you for watching. That is part 1 of the Book of Shadows tour. So I hope you enjoyed it. So I mentioned some interesting spells in there and some interesting ideas, so I hope you're able to use them for your own Book of Shadows. And if you have any other questions, then please just comment. So yeah, and next week I will show you the second Book of Shadows, which I did after that first one. So the first one is quite basic. I went and found as much information basically, and some sacred texts such as the Charge of the Goddess and Charge of the God, the Witch's Creed, so stuff like that. I made sure I put all of that stuff in there. But with the second one, I have even more spells in there. I have stuff about runes in there. I have lots of stuff about crystals in there. What else? I think I have some more charges of the goddess. I think I've got I think in this one, in the second book, I have the charges of the dark goddess and the dark god, because they wasn't listed in the first Book of Shadows. So yeah, there's lots more information in my second Book of Shadows. So if you'd like to see what's in there, then please tune in next week when I do the second video of the Book of Shadows tour. So thank you for joining me, and for now. Brightest blessings and namaste. And zap. Should I say abracadabra, witches?